An abandoned orange grove sat 180 miles north of Los Angeles. 6 Mongols members were drunk on Budweiser and high on methamphetamine, loading magazines into Glocks and Berettas. Some wore skull and crossbones patches and boasted openly about killings they had committed for the club. For ATF agent William Queen, known to them as Billy St. John, this was the moment everything could collapse. After 28 months undercover and thousands of crimes witnessed, he was now surrounded by armed men who would kill him instantly if they discovered the truth. This is the story of what happens when you betray one of the world's most violent motorcycle gangs, and why some secrets are worth dying for. But before understanding how one man infiltrated the Mongols, it's necessary to understand what the Mongols are and why breaking their code of silence carries a death sentence. On December 5, 1969, in Montebello, California, the Mongols Motorcycle Club was born out of rejection. Hispanic and Latino bikers from East Los Angeles wanted to join the Hells Angels, but were turned away because of their race. In response, they formed their own club, named after Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire. Their logo depicted a cartoon Mongol warrior riding a motorcycle, wearing a top-knot, bell-bottoms, and sunglasses. It was rebellion expressed through leather and chrome. Among the 15 founding members was Alfonso Big Al Atz, a Vietnam veteran who had served 3 tours with the 101st Airborne Division. He became the club's first sergeant-at-arms. Most early members were military veterans returning from Vietnam, men addicted to violence, seeking brotherhood in an outlaw lifestyle. They understood hierarchy, loyalty, and the consequences of betrayal. Within 10 years, the Mongols established chapters across California, Los Angeles, the San Gabriel Valley, the San Fernando Valley, Long Beach, San Diego, and Bakersfield. By 1974, they voted to become an official outlaw club, declaring themselves part of the 1%, the fraction of motorcyclists who live outside society's laws. The Mongols created strict commandments. A Mongol never lies to another Mongol. A Mongol never steals from another Mongol. A Mongol never touches another Mongol's woman. A Mongol never causes another Mongol to be arrested. A Mongol never uses his patch for personal gain. Violations meant beatings, expulsion, or execution. Their primary enemy emerged quickly. In 1977, at a swap meet in Anaheim, a massive brawl erupted between the Mongols and the Hells Angels. No one died, but it marked the beginning of a decades-long blood feud, fueled by competition over Southern California's methamphetamine trade. On September 5, 1977, the violence turned deadly. Mongols President Emerson Morris and member Raymond Smith were ambushed and murdered by Hells Angels while riding home from a bike run. The war had begun. By the 1980s, the Mongols achieved the unthinkable. They forced the Hells Angels out of Southern California. The Angels ceded control of the region on the condition that they retained dominance over Northern California. It was a territorial compromise built on bloodshed and firepower. The Mongols had proven themselves equals to the world's most powerful motorcycle gang, but with power came federal scrutiny. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives knew the Mongols were dealing meth, trafficking weapons, committing murders, and running extortion operations. The challenge was how to prove it. The opportunity arrived in 1998. William Queen, a 20-year ATF veteran with Special Forces experience in Vietnam, had worked as a police officer, a border patrol agent, and an infiltrator of groups such as the Aryan Nations and the Ku Klux Klan. When a confidential informant offered to introduce an agent into the Mongols' San Fernando chapter, Queen volunteered. He became Billy St. John, a bearded Harley-riding outlaw with a violent history. The infiltration process was brutal. Queen started as a hang-around, drinking, partying, and proving loyalty through violence. The Mongols tested him relentlessly, They forced him to steal motorcycles, transport drugs, drive getaway cars, and witness savage beatings. On one occasion, he had to stitch up a Mongol's girlfriend after her boyfriend beat her unconscious. The choice was simple: participate or die. They gave him a nickname, Billy the Slow Brain. Despite the mockery, he advanced. After months of proving himself, Queen became a prospect, a probationary member expected to submit completely to full members. The ATF built an elaborate fictional identity for him, complete with forged documents, agents posing as relatives and employers, and even elementary school staff prepared to confirm his fabricated childhood. Mongols hired private investigators to vet him, but the ATF's false identity held. Queen received his prospect patch, a leather vest marked California. Without the full Mongols emblem, he was inside. The danger intensified. As a prospect, he endured constant tests. Many Mongols were, in Queen's words, crank-fueled criminal psychopaths, often high on meth around the clock. Violence erupted without warning. Queen witnessed bar fights where victims' bones were shattered, heard gang rapes being planned, and listened to casual discussions about killing police officers. He faced near-death moments himself. In one fight, a Mongol tried to stab him. Queen nearly killed the attacker in self-defense before others intervened. In another test, members put a line of methamphetamine in front of him and held a knife to his throat, demanding he use it. He faked a snort, an act that could have cost him his life if detected. Eventually, Queen became a fully patched member. He received the complete Mongols colors, the top and bottom rockers, and the center patch, depicting the Mongol warrior. It was the proudest moment of his undercover career and the beginning of his psychological collapse. As treasurer, Queen gained unprecedented access to financial records and criminal evidence. He wore a wire whenever possible, knowing discovery meant torture and death. But an unexpected shift occurred. He began identifying with the Mongols. When his mother died, not a single ATF colleague offered condolences. Yet Mongol after Mongol told him they were sorry and that they cared about him. The contrast shook him deeply. He felt stronger loyalty from criminals than from his own agency. Members told him they would risk their lives for him, and Queen believed them. He compared this loyalty to that of his ATF colleagues and realized that few of them would do the same. I found myself believing that they were, for the most part, just like you and me, Queen later wrote. I became confused, sometimes quite often. I truly wanted to be a Mongol at that point. I even thought about telling them the truth and walking away from the undercover operation. The isolation was overwhelming. Queen rarely saw his wife and children. He lived apart from his family in a house designed to resemble the lifestyle of a Mongol. He grew his hair long, kept a scraggly beard, and covered himself in tattoos. The persona of Billy St. John consumed him. After 28 months undercover, Queen could barely remember who William Queen was. On May 19, 2000, the operation ended. Nearly 700 law enforcement officers across 4 states launched coordinated raids. 54 Mongols were arrested. Ultimately, 53 were convicted. Queen's testimony sent dozens of members to prison for drug trafficking, weapons offenses, assault, and racketeering. The aftermath was punishing. Queen entered the Witness Protection Program, living under 3 different identities for 2 years. The Mongols placed a price on his head. For years, Queen received credible death threats. When he published his memoir, Under and Alone, in 2005, he reignited the gang's anger. He admitted that he still slept with a shotgun beside his bed, knowing that thousands of outlaw motorcycle gang members wanted him dead. But Queen's infiltration was only the beginning. The ATF built on his success. In 2005, Agent Darren Kozlowski infiltrated the Mongols' Cypress Park chapter under the persona Dirty Dan. He claimed to have mafia connections from his childhood in Chicago. The operation was especially dangerous because Kozlowski had previously infiltrated the Vagos and Warlocks motorcycle clubs in Southern California, and his photograph appeared in William Queen's book. Kozlowski remembered the terror of entering a Mongol's leader's home and seeing members flipping through Queen's memoir. Examining the photos, he was certain he had been exposed and would be killed. It turned out to be coincidence. When the chapter president eventually saw Kozlowski's picture in the book, Kozlowski managed to convince him it wasn't him, arguing, "Why would an ATF agent who infiltrated the Vagos come here and join the Mongols?" The logic held. Kozlowski, along with 3 other ATF agents, spent 3 years embedded in the Mongols. 4 female ATF agents posed as biker girlfriends, attending parties and providing cover. The operation expanded beyond California into multiple states. Kozlowski bought crystal methamphetamine from members, witnessed violent brawls, helped hide firearms for felons, and documented the gang's criminal structure. Maintaining the cover required constant preparation. When the chapter president accepted an invitation to visit Chicago and tour Kozlowski's old neighborhood, the ATF scrambled. They staged an entire dinner in Chicago with agents posing as Italian organized crime figures who vouched for Kozlowski's fabricated criminal history. The Mongols' president believed the story. On October 21, 2008, Operation Black Rain reached its conclusion. More than 1,500 law enforcement officers executed 110 arrest warrants and 160 search warrants across California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, Washington, and Ohio. Sharpshooters took positions on rooftops. Motorcycles were seized and lined up by the dozens. 61 Mongols were arrested on charges including murder, attempted murder, assault, drug trafficking, and weapons violations. Among those arrested was Ruben Doc Cavazos, the Mongols' national president. He had recently published a memoir titled Honor Few, Fear None: The Life and Times of a Mongol. The irony was unmistakable. Cavazos had been expelled from the club just weeks earlier for stealing nearly $200,000 and provoking unnecessary violence. He immediately cooperated with federal prosecutors testifying against his former brothers. In total, 77 Mongols pled guilty, but federal prosecutors wanted more than convictions. They wanted to destroy the club itself. They attempted to seize the Mongols' trademark, the right to wear their patches. If successful, any law enforcement officer could legally remove a Mongol's vest anywhere in the country. The patches were more than emblems. They represented identity, brotherhood, territory, and power. The legal battle lasted years. In 2015, a federal judge dismissed the trademark seizure effort. In 2019, a California jury ruled that prosecutors could seize the trademark, but an appellate court reversed the decision, citing First Amendment protections. The Mongols survived, but they were permanently changed. The infiltrations exposed corruption and shattered internal trust. Members began to question one another. Paranoia became constant. A club founded on brotherhood now feared its own members might be informants. In 2022, former Mongols President David Santillan faced accusations of cooperating with law enforcement after his wife leaked a recorded phone call. Santillan denied the claims, but the damage was done. He was expelled. Today, the Mongols Motorcycle Club continues to operate with more than 2,000 members worldwide. They have expanded into Australia, Germany, and 11 other countries, but their code of silence has been permanently broken. Several members have cooperated with law enforcement. Multiple infiltrations have succeeded. The myth of absolute loyalty has collapsed. Queen struggled with PTSD, identity confusion, and survivor's guilt. He had formed genuine bonds with men who would have killed him without hesitation. He had witnessed crimes he could not prevent. He had become someone else so completely that returning to his real life felt like stepping into another undercover role. They would beat you down without thinking twice, Queen said in interviews, but they would also take a bullet for you. That contradiction tore him apart. He spent 28 months with men who treated him like family, knowing that eventually he would betray them. When it ended, he was left wondering who the real monster was. The Mongols were born from rejection, turned away by the Hell's Angels because of their race. They built an empire on brotherhood and violence. Their code demanded absolute silence, and breaking it meant death. William Queen broke that code. So did Darren Kozlowski and other ATF agents who risked everything to dismantle one of America's most dangerous motorcycle gangs. More than 130 Mongols went to prison. Drug networks, weapons trafficking, and murders were exposed. But the cost was enormous. Queen still sleeps with a shotgun beside his bed. Many informants who helped the operations are dead. The Mongols still ride. Their patches still command fear, but their code of silence has been shattered. 28 months undercover. One betrayal. The Mongols will never forgive, and William Queen will never forget.